Welcome to Seymour from the Front Pew podcast, coming to you from the broadcast studio at Seymour First Baptist Church in Seymour, Tennessee, and featuring thoughts and discussions around loving God, loving others, making disciples, and living the life. I am your host, Tiger Brooks, and now, on to the podcast. On to the podcast. This is Tiger Brooks, and I did happen to remember to unmute my microphone before starting this episode, unlike the last episode. And
Hey, listen!
If you're listening to this episode, we thank you. It means that we didn't offend you so severely in the last episode, the fun and games episode, that you would just sworn us off. So we welcome you back. And we have our illustrious lead pastor back.
I had nothing to do with the last episode.
Texted in.
You did.
I still really didn't know what I was texting in. I just got this random text. Send your 4 favorite cereals. And mine won that, by the way. I mean, like there's no competition on that, by the way.
No.
So
Can't take away my victory.
However, I am intrigued.
It's incredible.
S'mores cereal might have to.
It is Cinnamon Toast Crunch and then the Marshmallows Lucky Charms all together in one.
Yeah, and Cocoa Puffs.
Yeah. And chocolate, I mean, it's good.
Okay.
You can have that for breakfast and then be in diabetic coma by 11 a.m.
Cereal is not for breakfast.
I will agree.
That's a whole nother thing, but
I will agree with that.
I mean, I don't eat it for breakfast.
I had a discussion about that with Shelby's father the other night. He is a all hours cereal consumer as well. So
I would say I'm more of a late night cereal consumer than anything else. I mean, that'd be like 80% after 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
So
that'll put on the pounds quickly.
Yeah. Thus, I am now low carbing, right? So anyway,
Exactly. Okay,
There's no low
so
carb cereal.
no,
there isn't one period.
no, there's not any, and there's none. I've looked. There's none.
I have looked too.
Sorry.
Anyway, on to this episode. We're not going to reflect on the other episode anymore. But we decided that today, in full disclosure, as we are recording this, we are anticipating our Rummage Sale this weekend. As this is going to be airing, it will be post-Rummage Sale. But we wanted to reflect on the Rummage Sale because, number one, we've really never brought it up, I don't think, a whole lot in previous episodes. And it's a part of the culture here at our church. It's been going on for a long time. And the question may be raised, why? Why do a rummage sale? Which is always a fair question to ask about anything you do at church. Why do we do that? And so we're going to tell you why. It's been interesting for me. This will be my second one that I've been here for. Last year scored a couple of ceiling fans, and they are in my house. and some
Sanzabel pants.
now famous Sanzabelt.
Sanzabelt.
Meaning without a belt.
Without a belt.
It's French. And it's Sans belt. Anyway,
Okay, hold on. So sans means without in
yeah.
French.
Mm-hmm.
Without belt.
We.
Is
That's just American.
English.
Yes.
and belt is
English. yeah,
English.
yeah.
So
Somebody's having fun. Somebody's having fun.
You can create English words whenever you want.
Yeah, it's a brand. It's a brand.
Oh, it's a brand. Okay.
Yeah, it's a brand. It's not a type of pants.
Okay.
It's kind of like saying Kleenex. Okay, it's a brand.
This is all new information. I had never heard of that till you busted out them pants last year.
Yeah, they're quite
So
spectacular.
you can show off that figure without a belt.
They remind me of in Friends when Phoebe has the pregnancy Santa pants. That's what they remind me of.
I will tell you, they really are at the very edge of what I'm comfortable in wearing without a belt, because they're pretty big. They're pretty big even on me. Somebody's going to come up and lay claim to having donated those pants and are mad at me that I said they're big on me. But it's one of those things.
Those people are probably long gone by now.
Yep.
Anyway, so Rummage Sale. It's 2 spectacular days in the schedule of Seymour First Baptist Church. It takes a village to pull it off.
Yeah.
We the week prior, we are collecting things, and everybody kind of understands now. It's become part of the culture to a degree that everybody like saves up stuff, and then all of a sudden they start dropping it off, and we have people that will call and say, "Hey, come get it." We had a U-Haul truck pull up and unload this past week as well. So I'll let you guys take off on why Rummage Sale.
I think we even start with where it began, and that was long before me. Was it before? It was before you too.
Yeah, it's been 20 plus years.
Has it been 20? Okay, but at the core of that is Frank Enter.
Yep.
Frank has passed away now, but Frank had this vision for this rummage sale that would fund missions, and at the core of what it is today is still at the core of what it was when it started, and it has been the entire time. The drive of everything that comes from Rummage Sale supports missions. Now, what we do in missions has changed throughout the years, but the Rummage Sale being a driver of that is still very much a part of that. And Frank had a heart for that and really led the way in that. It's morphed a couple different times. It was 2 times a year, and once in the spring and once in the fall. And several years ago, we brought that back to just the fall again. And then Frank really passed down a heart for that into the people that lead it today. I mean, we've got people that take weeks of vacation off to come and work, because it is 2 days in the life of like the sale itself. But it has been as much as 2 weeks in the setting up and the tear down and the sorting through the clothes and the Christmas items and the all that is going on, the pricing and just trying to make sure everything. I mean, we've got people that have worked in it for years. We've got people that are brand new to it that are even downstairs right now while we're up here recording. That they're downstairs working through, and we've got new and old that are in it, but really, at its core, this began as a vision with Frank Enter thinking, and this would be a great way for us to help fund missions.
And it's one of those things that it makes sense in that all of us collect more stuff than we need over time. We move houses a couple times, and you got stuff that you don't need anymore. What do you do with it? A lot of people don't care to have garage sales because they don't want that mob of people coming to their house, and I understand that. So it's a convenient way for a lot of people to get rid of things. It's also, you have people that will come looking for things that are at a great price, and it's a win-win, knowing that all of the proceeds will go to a great benefit. It's the same thing if you've ever been by the church. I think this was Frank's idea too. The can trailer. You've got this huge trailer out back, and you may be saying, why do they got this gigantic thing collecting aluminum cans? People collect aluminum cans and they recycle them, and you get a little bit of money, and all that money goes to missions.
Yeah.
And so it's just one of those things. People are going to do it. Let's just try to grab hold of a little bit of that and put it to good use. So it's kind of the same idea.
Yeah. And again, I hear stories about at one point in time there were cars and boats and all kinds of stuff that would be donated, and part of the rummage sale was to do an auction so that you could they could auction those off. And the last 2 that I've been at have had cars or trucks that have sold. And again, one of those, well, both of those, I think were non-running cars and trucks, but we use our network of people to find someone that's interested in that, and again, that sale then goes to Rummage Sale, and so that has worked really well, and a little bit of everything, a little bit of anything that you can find down there, and a little bit of all ages of things that are down there. So anyway, a lot of work though that goes into it to pull it off.
So bring Austin into this. Austin is our worship and missions pastor, and Austin, you working with the missions team, dictate how those monies are dispersed and what those monies are going to. Talk a little bit about how the decision is made to utilize those funds and how that helps people get on mission.
Right. So Rummage Sale is the biggest piece of. We have a missions line item, and Rummage Sale is the biggest feeder for that. So that line item, that fund, Rummage Sale goes into it. Like I say, biggest piece of it. All the little missions meals we do, we'll get $1,000 here and there for those. Of course, each individual trip does. But anyway, at the end of the day, there's that account that sits there. Rummage Sale brings in several $1,000s for that. And then throughout the year, as we take mission trips, whether that be Cincinnati or Guatemala or wherever we may go, the goal, the primary function of that line item is to offset the cost that those individuals have to pay to go on mission. And the goal is generally up to 50% of that cost. So to go to Guatemala, depending on when you're going and how much flights are, it's a pretty set price of just under $1,000 for your in-country cost. But then the flight, let's say the flight's another $1,000. So the cost to go to Guatemala for an individual is $2,000 roughly. Well, the goal of the Missions Council is to be able to pay for half of that. So that means that the individual, if Jason's going to want to go as a church member to Guatemala, we're going to try and make it where it's as financially feasible as possible, so that it only costs him $1,000 instead of $2,000 to go to Guatemala. So anyone who's been on a mission trip and received those funds to really knock the price of their trip in half, that's thanks mostly to Rummage Sale. And so thus far, the Lord is blessed, and we have brought in enough in Rummage Sale, and the amount of people have going and stuff, and it has offset. We've paid almost 50% of almost every individual for the last several years to go on mission trips. Then any church members who come to us and are going, like Shelby's gone on several trips, and so they can fill out an application, and Rummage and the missions committee will use those same funds to try and help them offset the cost of, so like with Megan on her mission, her 9 months in Guatemala right now, some of the Rummage Sale money has gone to help support her. And then even beyond that, sometimes we have non-church members or college students who are going to church here that they come with requests. And so we try and help them as much as we can. But again, the primary objective of that fund that Rumage Sale supports is to offset First Baptist members going on First Baptist mission trips. And it does a great thing. When you look at it right now, like this year, we project in 2024 that we're taking 2 trips to Cincinnati. The first trip we had 30 people almost. 26, I think is what we had. The second trip, we'll know more in the next couple of weeks, but let's say we take another 20 people to Cincinnati this summer. Then going with Jason to Guatemala is 17. When I go, and maybe you go in September, we're probably taking another 25-ish. So you're looking then at, what's that, 40, you're looking in the neighborhood of 75, 80 people going on mission.
Yep.
That fund is paying for half of them to go, half of their trips. That's huge, and making it a lot more accessible. And then as we look at bigger and more expensive trips, that fund will continue. So
you hear the need in that too. I mean, again, the need for the Rummage Sale and the need for it to do well and for people to be aware of how we're trying to fund missions. In Guatemala alone, we're averaging 15-ish people going 2 to 3 times a year. We're covering half of the cost, roughly $1,000. So, I mean, you're talking about,
that's a lot.
A lot of money. I mean, like that's $15,000 a trip, basically. Or at least real near that we're trying to fund through Guatemala, and the vast majority of that is coming through Rummage Sale.
Right, and we also just because we like transparency and all that. Every mission trip also has inherent ministry costs, and so a lot of that we're either writing into our budget now to help all those ministry costs, or we're doing special fundraisers. You'll hear us talk about when we're getting ready to go to Guatemala. If Jason's team is going to be doing medical stuff, we're going to do a push to do medical supplies and stuff like that. We also use our VBS offering to help with those kinds of things. So you'll see little things here and there that help offset the ministry costs. But again, the Rummage Sale, we try not to touch that for ministry costs. We try and use it for the individuals who are going. So
And really, did you want to say something about that? The thought occurs to me as you're describing that, thinking about missions, not only for the inherent qualities of going on mission, but also from the standpoint of that being a disciple-making tool in the life of the church, because we all know, because all of us have been on mission, the change that is wrought in a person's life when you expose them to something they've never seen before. The first time you go to Guatemala or any Central American country, the first time you go overseas, pretty much period, it radically alters the way that you think about the world. Mm-hmm. And it also has the ability to really make you reevaluate how you approach your own personal evangelism. It makes you very keenly aware of, hey, if I can do this in a foreign country, I can do this here. And so we encourage people to go on missions. And we're telling you that we help to offset the cost of getting you on mission, because we know that it changes, the 2 weeks, the 1 week, 2 weeks that you go on mission, it changes the other 51 weeks that you're here. Yep. And that's the key, because when you come back, and I could point to person after person that goes on mission who comes back and they are a more valuable church member, and they are more fired up and ready and willing to do some things because they finally get it. Yeah. And we can't teach that. We can't tell you enough to convince you of that. You have to live that, and you have to. The only way you can do that is to go. Mm-hmm. And so it's a way of getting more people there that may not otherwise have an opportunity to go. And so it's really a powerful tool in the life of the church. And so I'm glad we do it. Yeah. And a lot of churches have the ability to do a lot of different things that achieve the same goal. Again, this is just leveraging something that has become a part of this particular church's culture, and it's really neat. We all get displaced from our normal parking places. It's terrible. Now I've got to move one row over all week long. But we laugh about the fact that there's all this stuff going on, but it's really fun.
Get lunch every
day. They feed us every day. It's a
chaos week, and it's a chaos week. And it takes a lot of planning. We cancel Wednesday night activities. We're doing the children's musical that week. The student ministry is off campus. You have to move MVP games, but it is all 100% worth it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. At the end of the day.
And I'll also say it is also a place to serve. Yeah. This doesn't get pulled off without our members being willing to come and to serve and do. And I love it because really almost anyone inside the life of the church can serve. If you can come pull up a chair and help sort clothes or sort through kitchen stuff or whatever else, we'll find you a rolling chair and you can just sit there and move back and forth through the aisles and do that. And so there's a way for older people. My boys, from the time we've gotten here, have usually found a way to serve, even if that is, again, on the pre-thing of going and getting all the shelves and bringing them up and getting them laid out, or at close at 1:00. We close this rummage sale that has a lot of stuff at it at 1:00 on Saturday, and we are set up back ready for Sunday school in that same room on Sunday morning. And it takes a lot of work to do that. And so we'll have people that'll show up at 1:00 and just start helping us to box everything up and shut everything down. And again, we also work with our partner ministries for when we're done. So all of our clothes that are left over going to Montgomery Village, and they are getting distributed through the Baptist Center at Montgomery Village. Cross Thrift Store will come and be able to restock some of the areas and things that they need, again, at no cost, at just a chance to partner with them for them to be able to come and to get some things and to have those in their thrift store. And then the bulk of what is left and remaining, without question, just gets put into boxes, put into a Carm trailer, a large one, and is carried off. And so then everything that has come through that's not sold ends up donated and going to other nonprofits that are our ministry partners.
Right.
And they
in
turn
our
around
community.
and give us little
Gift cards.
gift card things that we can give out to folks that are needing help as they come to. So even there, it still cycles.
Yep.
I think one thing too that we a lot of times is missed in the chaos, if you will, of the week. I don't get to do it quite as much anymore, but there's also tons of deliveries. We're going and picking up stuff and sometimes even the ministry side. There's two other elements of ministry I think that takes place in Rummage Sale that a lot of times gets missed, and that one is in those pickups, if you will. I can't tell you how many times I've been with some of our senior adult men that go on these pickups, and they'll engage in conversation with either the individual, the homeowner, or a lot of times it is individuals who have lost family members, and they're basically cleaning out houses, and then having opportunities, seeing those men and praying with them, encouraging them. The times that they've done that, there's ministry that's taking place there as they're going for pickups. And then as people come in our doors for the sale, these are opportunities to engage the community even there as they come into our doors, into the gym, coming for the sale itself. But I've seen members that are having prayer with folks during the sales, engaging conversation, encouraging them to come back to church, and so there's ministry that happens across the
meeting
board.
We've met needs with furniture and items or whatever else along the way, and so again, it is a fundraising event for missions, but it has so many other arms and aspects to it. I look back at it and I say, as a pastor, if I'm at a church that's not doing a rummage sale, I'm probably having a hard time starting one. It doesn't naturally fit who I am. It's not what I would see or whatever else, but it is a great blessing to our church, and it is a great fundraising effort. It is a great place of service, and really. It is a part of the culture of who we are. I would say the missions culture of who we are as a church, and it fits, and it does a great job with all of those things.
Yeah. So a little bit of time kind of left, and I don't know how far down the path we want to go. And I'm going to ask a question we may not want to. We may not be ready to walk down that path.
Never know what to expect.
Talking about potential future mission opportunities. Yeah. And we will really gauge who listens to this podcast by who's going to pick up on this. But we've already talked about the fact that, and we've said many times, Guatemala. We are a new partner locally in the Cincinnati area, which is specifically Monroe, right outside of Cincinnati. Taking a trip there, going to take another trip here in a few weeks. But been prayerfully considering even a much further partnership, still praying through it, still looking at logistics and all of those things. Would the two of you like to maybe talk about?
Yeah, so I would say there's two potential ones right now. And so why don't you share on the one that you know a little bit more about, and I'll share on the one I know a little bit more about.
I don't know how much we're supposed to let out of the bag there.
Well, I think it's okay to say that we're looking at a vision trip for this.
I would say, and I think we say this enough, but I think we never need to miss the opportunity to anybody listening, okay? Like if you're a member or even just visiting First Baptist, missions is something every church member should be involved in, right? You should be involved in your workplace, in your neighborhood, in your family. But as an organization, as us, as First Baptist, we want to provide all kinds of opportunities for you to get involved in missions. And that starts, we said it just a couple weeks ago, it starts on the MVP field for us. We do a lot of other outreach-oriented events. 4th of July, you've heard us talk about all the things we do. We have Trunk or Treat, we have 4th of July, we have the Easter egg hunt, we have the Christmas program. All these things are meant as gifts to the community to begin missions. But really, our missions picture, our focus, our Jerusalem, as it were, it starts on the MVP field. Getting involved, whether it's coaching, refereeing, game day devotions, working in the concession stand, working with Jennifer in the
grounds
crew, whatever it is, that's where it starts. That's missions 101. We move beyond that, and what we have tried to again, we work in the idea of partnership missions. You've heard us say that a million times. So we have partnered with Life Church in Monroe, Ohio, as kind of the next step. It's 4 hours away. We're asking you, when you get involved with them, I mean, and you don't even have to go on a trip. Make it a part. We have prayer guides sitting at our mission table. Be praying for them. Give gift cards to go to their pastor or their ministry teams, just as an encouragement. Write them a letter. Their address is right there. Write them a letter and just encourage them. That's a huge thing that you can do. But anyway, that's our next step. Cincinnati, we're asking you to take 2 days off and take a 4-day weekend to go up there and do trips there. We're trying to fill that's what Corey's going to talk about, the next step, what's 6 to 8 hours away that takes a little bit longer, and he'll address that. Then as you look to international, we want to have a week-long mission trip that is somewhat more affordable, but is more expensive than going to like a Cincinnati. That's where Guatemala falls in. I think if you talk to any of us that have been to Guatemala, what a incredible opportunity it is there, and I think most of us that have been would say we've left some of our heart there.
Yeah.
And just
a great entry level international trip.
Yes, great entry level international trip.
Yep.
And we offer both things that are not as physically demanding, and then things that are very physically demanding in that. So we are looking at what the next step is, and I would say right now what we're praying through is that kind of biggest. You got to take a long time. It's a lot more specialized, and it's looking like that's going to be India, and reaching into. There's a community there that is growing in tourism. They've built a temple to a Hindu god there that estimates 3 million visitors a month into this town. And by all estimations, there's not a single believer that lives in that town. And so trying to partner with someone to move in and be a light in the darkness, and what that looks like for us to do that, to support that person, it looks a lot different. It is not an easy trip. It'd be a very taxing trip. It is not one you can proselytize openly. You cannot talk about God openly. So it would be prayer walking, trying to love that mission.
I would even say it's one where you need to be spiritually mature and grounded. This is like,
you're
because of the darkness that you're going to see, experience, and do, there is going to be attack, whether that's physical or spiritual or mental, emotional, where there's going to be spiritual warfare that is a part of this trip that is unlike what we experience regularly in Guatemala or in Cincinnati. And so it is going to be a significantly more intensive, but yet it's also going to be much smaller in its scope. I would say the biggest team we would ever carry there that we can imagine right now would probably be 4 or 5 people at a time. And so it is much different look and feel. It's also, it's going to be more expensive. It's going to be longer in tenure, probably no less than 12 to 14 days. So there's a lot of travel. I mean, like just the physical demand of travel alone to actually get to our spot would probably take upwards of 4 days if we were going straight there. I mean, real close to it.
And I was even talking to a buddy last night who went to India last year, a different kind of partnership that they have at their church. He's a worship pastor at another church here in Tennessee. And but he was talking about how it's a darkness you know, I don't know about you guys. When I've traveled, like I've gone on vacation to Vegas and New Orleans, and there is a significant just feel when you enter those cities. You know what I mean?
It's palpable.
It's palpable. Mm-hmm. And I think that pales in comparison to what he said. He said that going through customs, getting into India was one of the more intense moments that he had experienced, just feeling the oppressiveness of darkness. So anyway, so we're praying through that and what that's going to look like, and excited about that.
I've used just to kind of maybe put it in terms when we're talking about levels of missions trips. If you think about the baseball systems, single A, double A, triple A, major leagues, you know, this trip we're talking about, it's the major leagues.
Major leagues, yeah.
And, you know, some of these trips, you know, Cincinnati is single A. You've got single. Well, MVP is probably single A. Double A is Cincinnati. Triple A is Guatemala, and this is the major.
But I would encourage people. So this is I don't know. I don't know if it's good advice or bad advice. It's advice. If you'd have asked me, like I like to travel, I like to see things. If you'd have asked me, hey, where do you want to go in the world? India would be very, 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 very low on that list.
Mm-hmm.
I do not like crowds. I do not like.
Yeah.
And so when I think about India and the population there, I mean, all my life it has been no. I do not want to go there. And we've been challenged with this and presented with this, and I think it's safe to say I'm the one who the most came back and said, I think this is something we really need to consider.
Both of us went into it thinking that this was not like we are very open to hearing about how God is working and if that would be a fit for us. And both of us went into it thinking, this is going to be a hard one to fit. So the reality is we think that it's probably just going to say, thank you. We will continue praying for your ministry but we don't think it's the right fit. And that's really halfway through the thing, what they're talking about and how they're talking, it is a disciple making movement that is aimed at pushing back the darkness in this city that is being overwhelmed and pushed toward paganism.
Right.
And so that we could potentially have an impact there and partner with those that are have a heart to make an impact there. Man, that sounds like something that I think it fits us. I mean, I think that could fit us.
And I would say even for just to walk down the road a little, you're preaching through Acts.
Yeah.
A lot of my Bible study has been in Acts, not just where we are, but where we're going, trying to think through the whole year as he's preaching through Acts. And this is that. This is that early church going into the Samaritans and saying, okay, this is people, I might have been scared of on some level, and now I'm going to go reach them with the gospel. You preached that Sunday. Yeah. So I would say, I'm saying all that to say, for me, India was like I'm terrified of the crowd.
Yeah.
But now I'm pretty burdened that it's time for me to go. And so I would say in that, going back to your single A thing, some of you out there, the idea of getting out on the mission, to go out to do a gay day devotion for 3 minutes, you're terrified of, and you think, no way, no how. But I would tell you that the Lord can put burdens on your heart to do the thing that you're terrified of. And to do that and to step out in faith, you're going to see immense repercussions of that in your spiritual journey. So even though that we do call that single A ball is a big step. If that's what the Lord is calling you to. So,
yeah. I mean, you mentioned the other day, a person who shall remain nameless, who was terrified to do the MVP devotion.
Yes.
But absolutely knocked it out of the park.
Yeah.
And probably stretched her beyond what she thought she was capable of doing. And I would say the next time that something like that happens, she's changed. She's not where she once was.
Yeah. I mean, and I specifically told you, I said, she came to me, she said, Jason, there's no way I'm doing this because, and she will know exactly who I'm talking about when I say this. I'm not going to put her name out there, but she said point blank, she said, I've been challenging my kids to get out and to tell others who Jesus is. She said, how can I do that if I'm not willing to do that?
Yeah.
And then on the end of it, afterwards, she suggested, I can't ever do this again. I've been so scared. And I told you specifically, I said, she did probably one of the best devotions, the way we need a devotion done on a game day time. She did fantastic. And it is. And I think one of the important things that kind of came to my mind, someone may be listening to this and hearing this, single A, double A, kind of this step up kind of thing. It's
an imperfect analogy.
It is.
Yeah. But it's a good analogy.
It's a good analogy. But I think what some people may think is, well, what if I don't ever get called to the major leagues? What if I don't ever? That doesn't mean anything. We are called to all be a part of this. And the reality is the vast majority of believers, in fact, I would say every believer has the opportunity and should be a missionary in your Jerusalem.
Yeah.
We're all going to have that opportunity. And it's just, sometimes it's that opportunity the further out you get, the bigger up that scale you get a little bit, opportunity may start to shrink.
Right.
It doesn't. Sometimes, yes, it's about spiritual maturity, but that's not always what it is.
Right.
Somebody could be a super spiritual mature person, and
they're just called a double A.
Opportunity is never to go to an India,
and that's where the analogy breaks down.
It does,
and it's okay. But you have to have people at all those levels.
Right.
You do. We have to keep playing those games at every level,
and we want to provide opportunities at all of those levels. But we want to do it in a way that fits who we are and how we value missions. We want to offer those levels at partnership style missions, not just one-off things. I could find all kinds of great one-off trips to send you toward. That is not right. We want to be about relational missions as well, that we know who we're working with. We know their hearts, where they're going, why they're doing it, and that those things align with us, with who we are. And that's what we are seeing potentially as lining up with this one in India.
Now, run.
I'll share one more. Some of the churches heard me talk about Blue Oval City. If you are in the state of Tennessee and keep up with things that are going on economically in the state of Tennessee, Blue Oval is a huge opportunity that's coming economically for the state of Tennessee. In West Tennessee, between Brownsville and Memphis, Tennessee, Ford is investing billions of dollars into the F-150 Lightning plant in that area. They have bought hundreds of thousands of acres. There are battery plants that are under construction right now, and there is going to be an influx of people. They believe that the area around this plant is going to go from roughly a population of around 5,000 to, over the next 10 years, a population of over 90,000 people. And so you have this huge influx. And so as Tennessee Baptists, we have been on the front end hearing all this going on. Instead of being reactionary after it all happens, we are trying to think of ways to plant churches to be able to reach these people that are going to be moving in and populating these areas before they're all there. And one of those opportunities is actually happening. One of my college roommates who has been on staff at Bellevue Baptist has felt called to leave the church. He has resigned, and he is going to be planting a church south of Memphis on the edge of where Blue Oval will begin. And so we are excited about that. It's still in the very, very early stages, but looking like a partnership there. And so a partnership with that looks different than all of these others because from East Tennessee, from Seymour to where Blue Oval is going to plant is probably close to a six and a half hour drive.
It's a long way.
It's a long way, all in the state of Tennessee, all on I-40. I mean, like I-40 is forever long. So anyway,
and still not at the extremes of Tennessee.
No, still I mean, like
ways to go both ways.
Yeah. But church plants, they require a significant financial investment. Mm-hmm. And so I think we could partner. We aren't going to be their sending church. That is already set up and done. But a sending church, most sending churches can't do that alone either. Mm-hmm. And so Tennessee Baptist Mission Board, their sending church, and other churches partnering together to try to get this up and running and going. And so this one is even, I think earlier stages than even India is right now. And so what I'd say is be prayerful. Be prayerful over this. I believe this is a great opportunity. Jay Stevenson, my roommate from college and a great friend of mine, I believe he could be the catalyst guy to plant this first church and it be a planting church into this area. Because the reality is if we're talking about 90,000 people, we need 30, 40 churches, different ethnicities, different styles, different places, to be able to meet the needs of this community that's about to just explode in a short period of time.
Yeah.
So, and we're really excited about that.
Yeah, and that is, it gives us one more layer of opportunity for people. And all of these things, as we've already said, will resonate with different people for different reasons. And that's why the body has been put together the way it is, because we've got people who have a heart for a broad spectrum of different things. And it's just an opportunity to add to that makes sense. And it's a reachable, doable goal and opportunity that we will be sharing more about in the coming days and weeks and months. So with that, we're going to bring to a close the Rummage Sale Missions episode of Seymour from the Front Pew. Again, as always, thank you for listening and tuning in. If you heard something of value, please like and share it with somebody and tell them about it. If you have any questions about anything that you heard today, you want more understanding about something, a trip or missions effort or whatever, please send us an email to the email you're about to hear, or you can give us a call at the church anytime that you so desire. Again, thanks for listening. Say bye, fellas.
See ya.
Later. Bye.
Thank you for listening to Seymour from the Front Pew. Our sole desire for this podcast is to glorify God by educating and encouraging His body. If you would like to learn more about anything you've heard today, feel free to reach out by email at staff@seymourfbc.org or by visiting our website at seymourfbc.org. If you're located near our community and do not have a church home, come worship with us at 10:15 a.m. on Sunday morning. Until then, we pray God's richest blessings on you and yours as you love God, love others, make disciples, and live the life.